Now, good morning. I know sometimes people struggle using dahlias in bouquets. They are sometimes facing very forward, very strong on their stems. They feel as if they don't have a great deal of movement. And by chance, this morning, I'm making a bride's bouquet and some bridesmaids and some buttonholes. And I am using lots of my lovely dahlias. So I thought I'd make a special using dahlias in bouquets clip. So come along, enjoy. And the bride is picking up at lunchtime and she'll be married tomorrow. It is mid-August, the 17th of August. So the dahlias, we're not quite at peak dahlia, but they're coming on nicely. I've got very chunky hair this morning. That's better. Hair and makeup done. Anyway, if you enjoy these clips, please do subscribe to the channel. You can always press the bell icon and we'll tell you we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks I give you as we go along are useful, then please do buy me a coffee. The link for coffee buying is in the blurb to all my clips. Right, let's get going. So I've got a few different varieties here to show you. This is Cafe au lait Rose. How beautiful is that? But look, very, very strong on the stem. She's not going to move. There's not a great deal of movement there. She's absolutely solid. So what I'll do with her is I will tuck her underneath the bouquet. I've not waited until she's really enormously out. This is a completely usable size. I love the colour because there's a little bit of, there's enough peachy, there's enough yellow in it to give it a peachy flavour. Very, very pretty. So this I will tuck underneath the bouquet so that it shows upwards. This one, Bracken Ballerina, is also very front facing, but look from the side there. But because she's smaller and lighter headed, I can hook her into the bouquets and the hooking will make her face upwards, which will be more useful in the middle of a bouquet. And I can use something like this good strong pom-pom to hook her upon. All you need is a bit of material that you can work with. So the pom-pom is there and I can take my Bracken Ballerina and I can hook her over the pom-pom, which is very easy. This is Shiloh Noel and I've started cutting into this plant quite hard. And as you can see, she's got slimmer stems than the Cafe au lait Rose. I'm juggling here. And that's just because I've been cutting harder into the plant. And so this is a side shoot. So you can imagine how big the flowers would be if it weren't a side shoot. The side shoot's given me a slimmer stem, more useful, less heavy for the bride to carry, but also the face of the dahlia is facing up. So do cut into your dahlias hard. The more you cut them, the slimmer the stems will be. And through the season, if you're starting with unmanageably large dinner plate dahlia heads, as you cut them, they will become easier to use. So don't be put off by your dahlias. The other thing about dahlias, somebody said on Twitter yesterday, why is it that big commercial bouquets don't often have dahlias in? And one of the reasons is that dahlias really don't travel out of water. They're not going to last a very long time out of water, and they'll need a lot of conditioning to bring them back when they've been out of water for a long time. So it's really worth finding your local grower or growing your own, because when they're cut fresh from a garden, that is going to be absolutely fantastic in a bouquet for a wedding. And I have every confidence that my bride will be thrilled with it. I've got some other things to go with it to soften it because they are quite chunky, and I don't want my bride to walk down the aisle with a bouquet that literally she's got to flex her biceps to carry. So I've got quite a lot of fresh, very light material to go with it. some of which is here. I've got these lovely wild carrot seed heads. And these two are on really good strong stems. This is really strong stem. So they're useful as structure within the bouquet to hold up some of the heavier heads, but also they can compete. They're not going to be bruised by the dahlia heads. They'll work their way through, and they won't be kind of squashed by the dahlias. They've got enough of their own strength. So they look light, but they are strong, and we love a bit of strength. Also, I love a sort of lacy feel, and so I've cut some of these gorgeous limelight hydrangeas, and I've cut the smaller heads for a bride's bouquet. A big limelight hydrangea head is, you know, enormous. So I've gone around and I've chosen some slightly smaller heads, which will, again, squish into the mix and give my bouquet a sort of lacy feel. To dance above the bouquet, a little cosmos. Again, I don't want to pull them out of the bucket, hold on. The cosmos is, again, they have really lovely strong stems, cosmos. And so you get this movement, but the stem is strong enough to compete with the dahlia stems. I think, you know, you've got to look at the engineering a little bit. And if you put very, very weak, brittle stems with very strong stems, the strong stems are going to break the weak, brittle stems. But the cosmos will dance out of the bouquet and really make a statement. And then for the foliage for this, again, I've stuck with something a little bit strong, and I've got some bells of Ireland. They have loved this weather. And when you put bells of Ireland in a bucket, they don't necessarily keep straight. They'll dance around, but I'm going to use that, the fact that this is bending over a little bit, and it's going to look very pretty. And also the zingy green with the dahlias is going to be very good. And again, for a contrast in texture, if you've been watching my clips lately, you'll have seen lots of this A triplex rubra. And I will, like I did last weekend, this is heavy for something so delicate looking. And so for the bouquets, I will strip most of the stems so that I've got this lovely movement and this sort of, it's really interesting to look at and a great colour seed head, but most of the seeds are going in the compost. I must come at some of this to dry. I think it'll look fantastic dry. On my list. And my bride particularly asked for some gypsophila, which again, so I've ordered this. I don't grow this, but I've ordered this up from my colleague James at Flowers by Clarence. And again, you can see how that lacy froth is going to be a lovely foil for the weight of the dahlias. I think sometimes what happens is people say, I want a dahlia bouquet, and the florist or the flower farmer thinks, oh my God, what do you mean, just dahlias? It doesn't have to be just dahlias. Look, isn't that pretty? It's really squishing in nicely. It won't look quite so lumpy when I've made it, but you get the idea. So don't be frightened of a dahlia bouquet. Play with your dahlias. You know, if you have a garden full of dahlias, cut them and have some fun and see how you can make them work for you. So look at the strength of that stem. That is absolutely no movement in it. Watch me. This will be on the outside of my bouquet. Right, I have a dahlia workshop coming up online, book a place. and you'll find out all about everything from propagating to growing to planting to harvesting to using in designs. We also have a Dahlia Day here at Common Farm at the end of September. So, well, nearly the end of September. So have a look at that. And if you can come, then we'd love to see you there. I will be at the Discovering Dahlias Day at RHS Wisley on the 30th of September. So I'll see you there. Yes, I do like my dahlias. I am happy when I have dahlias to work with. Right, I'm going to make this bouquet and then you can see how I've worked with all this material. But do book a place on one of these workshops because that's how I make a living. So I'm starting with some of these smaller heads and they are facing relatively upwards. This one's called Ivana and I found her last summer at the Dahlia trials at RHS Wisley. If I let her get much further out, she's going to be a bit sheddy, but isn't she pretty? At this time of the year, I'm also watching out for earwigs in the bouquets, in the cut flowers. Not because there's anything wrong with an earwig, but because I'm not sure my client wants to have earwigs crawling around her bouquet while she's getting married. So I'm just keeping an eye out because there is evidence of earwig poo. Would you like to see some earwig poo? You see the black spots. Where's it gone? I've got rid of it now. If you watch out, sometimes they're a little there. Oh, it's hard to show you without it falling off, but there, black spot there. That's earwig poo, and you can just flick it off. So I will be keeping an eye on my dahlias as I use them in the bouquets to make sure that the physical earwig has been shaken out. Bells of Ireland have tiny little thorns. So that's another thing to do is while you're there is make sure, because the bride doesn't want to suddenly go, oh! Scream when she finds that her finger is being pricked by a Bells of Ireland thorn. So I'm starting off with relatively small dahlias and I'm just mushing them up. My bride's asked for colour, so we're going for colour. I'm just going to let tea cake out. Come on, you silly whinge bag. So there are two dahlias in there and a cosmos, and I'm just going to play a little bit more. I'm not going to use those very big, heavy-headed dahlias until the end, and I'll show you how. Look, talking of wildlife, in here, in this bracken ballerina, can you see there's a ladybird? So I'm going to shake him off too, because he's a very useful fella to have in my garden. And so I'd rather keep him here than let my bride take him away somewhere elsewhere, though she might like to have it too. Now, this may not go with this look, but the bride has not asked for a bridey look. She's asked for colour. And so I'm adding a couple of these lovely bright red penstemons because I don't want this bouquet to be too bridal. So the penstemons give it a real zing of red. In the garden, this can be a little flat looking, but I tell you, with dahlias, it's a brilliant foil. And people often ask me whether it's a good idea to put roses with dahlias. And I say, absolutely, this is tea cake. This is Boscobel. And look how beautifully that will tuck in. And this pom-pom, it's a fuchsia pom-pom, is quite a flat pink. And if I tuck the Boscobel in next to it, it makes the Boscobel work harder for a living and freshens up the flat pink. But I'm tucking material onto each other. I'm layering this bouquet up a little bit so that if a flower needs support to keep it facing upwards, I'll tuck it onto the bouquet. Let's have another one and then you'll see. Let's have a floppy one. Here we have a lovely dark pink. Look at that. Oh, yes. This is a new variety, and off the top of my head, I can't tell you what it's called. That's hopeless, isn't it? But it's trying to face forwards. So I'm just going to turn it round so you see the back of it, and using the hydrangea, tuck it up. Bouquets are looked at from above, and so that way I'm using the material in the bouquet to support the other material so that it faces the way I'd like it to. Oh, that's coming along nicely. Now, the gypsophila is not always my favourite thing to use, but, and it comes on quite strong stems like this. So I'm going to split it. And you see, you've got it's coming along this bouquet quite nicely. There's some carrot in there, and it's getting there. And I'm just going to pull apart the gyp and tuck it underneath. And again, it's going to keep, and look, there's a bit extra here. I'm going to take that off. Might use it in a buttonhole. Don't waste not, want not. And by tucking it underneath, you just get a froth of it. You don't get, I'm a great tucker underneather. Tucking away here at the back. And then you'll just, as I make the bouquet, you'll see it. You'll see a little bit of the gyp, but it's not going to be the thing. It's just there, tucked in. And so there I've tucked 3 little bits of gyp. And by the time I finish the bouquet, the gyp, it'll be there, but it won't be a major part of it. It's just a little bit of froth in there. I love it. Coming together? I think so. So here's my bouquet, pretty much nearly there. But here's the original dahlia that we had. Very, very solid, not moving, facing forward. And I'm just going to tuck her into the side here. And look, can you see? Here she is. Here's the bouquet. And she's going all the way around the back, and I'm facing her in. And she's tucked in. There she is, wiggly, waving, hello. And I'm tucking her in there. And she's facing into the bouquet there. So she's a big dahlia, she's a heavy dahlia, but she's tucked in. I'm going to do it again with another, because that's what they're doing, is they're sort of collaring the bouquet by facing in, because bouquets are looked at from above generally. And that way you're seeing that lovely mush. The thing about using dahlias and bouquets is to go for the mush, go full mush. And I want one more quite big one. Here we are. There's a lovely big floppy-headed Café Le Royal, quite open. If you find that, I'm going to leave them, but if ever you are cutting dahlias and the back petals have been bashed a bit by the weather, or it's very open, these are fine, but sometimes the backs of the dahlias are looking a bit Raggedy Ann. You can always pull those petals off. They won't mind. The front will just keep opening. And I've got a space at the back here, which, although nobody's going to see it, I don't like it. So, incoming, dee. Can you see? There are those hydrangeas, and in between the hydrangeas is going that lovely big Café au lait. And because I've faced her in, she's not lost. She's there. Oh yes, very happy with that. Move her up a bit so she doesn't disappear. There. And that is a very enormous but rather fun bride's bouquet. Dahlias are big, so work with what you've got. My mother's point is that, I'm just getting some raffia to tie this up. My mother was a florist at the Dorchester in the 1960s. The Dorchester Hotel is a very fancy hotel in London's Park Lane. And Mum was a florist there in the 60s under the art direction of the famous theatre designer Oliver Messel. And the one piece of advice she gave me when I took up this job of growing flowers and being a florist was that if you're having an argument with a flower, it's an argument you've already lost. So don't have that argument. This dahlia is too heavy, so I'm pushing her down, otherwise she's gonna break everything. But quite pleased with that bouquet. I'd say that was colour. Brief was colour, dahlias, and best in the garden on the day, and a little bit of gypsophila. So there we have it. Hope the bride likes it. I'm just gonna, there we are, cut off the ends of the raffia. I always use raffia because I like it. There are other different kinds of ties available, but I like raffia. There, I think that's going to be, imagine I'm the bride walking down the aisle. Yes, I can see that's going to be good. I don't like it to be too round or too even. I like it to be full of life and movement. And for the photograph where they look lovingly at one another, then it's going to be good in that picture. There we go. Onwards and upwards. Keep going. I've got to do the bridesmaids now. I'll show you when I finish the whole project. Now, nobody said that working with dahlias was easy. So here I am in the middle of a little bridesmaid's posy, and here is my dahlia tartan, a bit wobbly. And tartan in real life grows very tall, so I look under. This is almost my favourite dahlia. I love tartan. So how am I going to use this floppy-headed dahlia? It's simple. I'm going to hook the dahlia. I want you to see this, so I have to turn around like this. Hook it, going into the bouquet, using the weight of the hydrangea in the middle, and I'm going to pull it down, and there it is. And that's not going anywhere. It's nicely supported, and just the ticket in this little bridesmaid's posy. And here are the buttonholes. I've used pom-poms because pom-pom dahlias, because they don't wilt and look very sweet. The jip, special request of the bride, not my favourite thing to use, but actually I think very effective and softened here with the cream of the hydrangea, actually is looking very nice. And there's my bride. And then there are 4 little bridesmaids posies. That is how you use dahlias in bouquets. Better box these up now. And there they are, the bride in her box, the bridesmaids and the buttonholes and the corsages in their box. Ribbons tucked into the side. Time to write a little card. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little clip. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if you like any of the tips and tricks I gave you along the way, please do buy me a coffee. The link for buying coffees is in all my clips. And don't forget, we have online dahlia courses and at the farm dahlia days coming up. So do book a place if you'd like to learn more. I'll see you soon. Bye.